The richest man in history just destroyed an empire because he misunderstood 7 words. This is the story of how the first billionaire lost everything to a single investment mistake, and why his monetary technology couldn't save him from his own hubris. His name was Croesus, king of Lydia. In 547 BC, this man controlled more wealth than entire nations. He literally invented the coin, the very foundation of modern monetary technology. His fortune was so legendary that we still use his name today when we say rich as Croesus. But within months, he would lose it all because he bet everything on a prophecy he didn't fully understand. To understand this catastrophic wealth management failure, you need to understand what made Croesus the first billionaire in human history. Lydia sat at the crossroads of the ancient world in what's now Western Turkey. Rivers flowing from the mountains carried electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. For generations, merchants traded using irregular lumps of this precious metal, weighing each piece, arguing over purity, wasting hours on every transaction. Croesus saw the inefficiency. Around 550 BC, his father had started standardizing these lumps, but Croesus took it further. He invented pure coinage, the world's first standardized monetary technology. He separated the electrum into pure gold and pure silver, stamped each coin with a lion and bull, the royal seal of Lydia. Each coin guaranteed by the king himself. Same weight, same purity. Every single time, this wasn't just money. This was a revolution in trust. Suddenly, a merchant in Sardis could trade with a merchant in Babylon without negotiation, without scales, without doubt. Transaction costs collapsed. Trade exploded. Wealth poured into Lydia like water. Croesus didn't just get rich from trade taxes. He controlled the monetary system itself. Every coin was his advertisement. Every transaction reminded the world who held the power. Within years, Croesus accumulated wealth that seemed infinite. His treasury in Sardis became legendary. Greek historians who visited described rooms stacked floor to ceiling with gold bars. The temples he funded were covered in precious metals. When delegations visited from Greek city-states, he would showcase his wealth deliberately, strategically, making sure everyone knew exactly who commanded the world's resources. But here's what's fascinating from an investment strategy perspective. Croesus understood monetary technology, but he fundamentally misunderstood geopolitical risk. To his east, the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great was expanding rapidly, conquering the Median Empire, absorbing territory after territory. Any rational wealth manager would see this as an existential threat. Persia was coming. The question wasn't if, but when. Croesus consulted the oracle at Delphi, the most trusted advisory institution in the ancient world. He sent massive gifts, gold and silver by the ton, building relationships, ensuring access to their prophecies. He asked the critical question every investor asks before a major decision. Should I attack Persia preemptively or wait? The oracle's answer was precise. If you cross the Halys River and attack Persia, you will destroy a great empire. Croesus heard exactly what he wanted to hear. He interpreted great empire as Persia. He saw confirmation bias at work, the oldest investment mistake in human history. He had the wealth, he had the monetary technology, he had the prophecy. He went all in. This is where Croesus made his $100 million mistake, adjusted for historical purchasing power. He committed everything. He liquidated diplomatic relationships, called in favors from Greek allies, mobilized his entire military, and marched east across the Halys River in 547 BC. He wasn't diversifying. He wasn't hedging. He was betting the entire kingdom on a single interpretation of 7 words. The first battle at Tyria was inconclusive. Both sides took heavy casualties. Winter was approaching. Any reasonable strategist would have retreated, regrouped, reassessed. But Croesus saw the stalemate as temporary. He withdrew to Sardis, dismissed his mercenary armies to save costs during winter, and planned to resume the campaign in spring. He thought he had time. He thought his wealth made him invincible. He thought his monetary technology translated to military supremacy. Cyrus understood something Croesus didn't. Speed is a weapon. Instead of retreating for winter, Cyrus pursued immediately. His army crossed the Halys, marched through Lydian territory, and arrived at Sardis before Croesus could even recall his mercenaries. The richest man in history suddenly faced an existential crisis with a skeleton defense force. Croesus's cavalry was legendary, the best in the ancient world. But Cyrus deployed camels at the front of his army. The horses, terrified by the smell, refused to charge. Croesus's tactical advantage evaporated. His wealth couldn't buy courage into panicked animals. His monetary technology couldn't mince soldiers out of thin air. Within days, Sardis was under siege. The city fell in 14 days. 14 days for the world's richest man to lose everything. Croesus was captured, his treasury seized, his monetary system absorbed into the Persian Empire. The oracle's prophecy came true, but not the way he expected. The great empire he destroyed was his own. 7 words. Total ruin. Now here's what makes this story relevant to modern investment strategy. Croesus didn't fail because he lacked resources. He failed because he overconcentrated his position. misread asymmetric risk, and allowed confirmation bias to override rational analysis. These are the exact same mistakes that destroy portfolios today. The technology changes. The psychology doesn't. His monetary technology was revolutionary, but technology alone doesn't guarantee success. Lydia invented the coin, but Persia inherited the system and built an empire that lasted 2 centuries. Croesus confused innovation with invincibility. He thought controlling the monetary system made him immune to geopolitical risk. He learned too late that wealth is only as stable as the institutions that protect it. The lesson here isn't about ancient history. It's about wealth management principles that transcend time. Diversification isn't just spreading money across assets. It's spreading risk across strategies, geographies, and scenarios. Croesus went all in on a single interpretation, a single strategy, a single timeline. When that bet failed, he had no fallback, no hedge, no exit. Modern investors make the same mistake constantly. They overleverage on a single thesis, ignore warning signals because they contradict the desired outcome, and assume past success predicts future results. Croesus invented the coin. That success blinded him to the fact that monetary technology doesn't win wars. Logistics, intelligence, and adaptability win wars. Cyrus had all 3. Croesus had gold. There's one more layer to this story that connects directly to modern financial systems. After conquering Lydia, Cyrus didn't abandon Croesus's monetary technology. He adopted it, expanded it, and used it to build the largest empire the world had yet seen. The Persian derrick, their gold coin, was directly descended from Croesus's innovation. The first billionaire lost his fortune, but his invention became the foundation of Persian economic power for generations. This is the paradox of disruptive innovation in monetary technology. The inventor rarely captures the full value. The innovation itself becomes infrastructure, adopted and optimized by whoever has the power to scale it. Croesus invented the system. Persia monetized it. This pattern repeats throughout financial history, from the Medicis to the Federal Reserve to cryptocurrency. Technology disrupts. Power consolidates. So what's the actual lesson for anyone building wealth today? First, innovation alone isn't defensible. Second, confirmation bias kills more portfolios than bad luck. Third, asymmetric risk means you need to plan for the scenario where you're completely wrong. Croesus asked the oracle if he should attack. He never asked what would happen if he lost. That question might have saved his kingdom. The richest man in history destroyed a great empire with a single investment mistake, exactly as prophesied. He just didn't realize the empire was his own. His monetary technology survived him. His wealth didn't, and that's the cold truth about financial innovation. Systems outlast individuals, and hubris is the most expensive tax ever paid. But Croesus wasn't the first civilization to understand that trust is the foundation of wealth. 1,500 years before he minted his first coin, another empire was already tracking financial reputation, lending money, and enforcing contracts using the world's first credit score system. The Babylonians invented financial trust itself, and what they discovered about lending, risk, and reputation is the template for every credit system that exists today, including the one that determines whether you can get a mortgage right now. That system, and why it still controls access to wealth 3,000 years later, is the next story.